In this video, I'm going to talk about the painting The Jewish Bride by Rembrandt, painted around 1665 to 1669, toward the end of Rembrandt's life. It's at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, Netherlands. And I'm going to talk specifically about a secret technique that I think old masters used from the 13th century up into the present day, and including Rembrandt, and I call it multi-referencing. It's when an artist takes small parts from several or all works of art by another artist and incorporates these parts into a single artwork. Now, this is my opinion. This is not in any books, but still I believe it to be true. Take a look for yourself and see what you think. I believe that in The Jewish Bride, Rembrandt multi-referenced the artist Jan van Eyck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you several works of art by Jan van Eyck next to The Jewish Bride, and I'm going to point out where I think parts are referenced. And please keep in mind that I think Rembrandt multi-referenced all the works of Jan van Eyck, not just the ones that I'm showing you. And you can look at other works by Van Eyck online. A good website is wikimediacommons.com. And this first painting by Van Eyck that I want to show you is called the Arnolfini Portrait, painted in 1434 by Jan van Eyck. It's at the National Gallery in London. It's a similar subject matter, a man and a woman, possibly a wedding picture as well. The man and woman resemble the man and woman in The Jewish Bride. One of the notches in the mirror between the Arnolfini couple is repeated as a notch in the lower right corner of the painting as the space behind the bride's dress in The Jewish Bride. The women in both paintings both have their left hands placed palm in and outside their bellies. Both paintings also feature the small orange round fruit. In The Jewish Bride, it's in the bride's right hand, a little hard to see until you look up close, and on the shelf along the edge of the Arnolfini portrait behind the man on the left side. The men in both paintings appear to be wearing black hats. In the Arnolfini portrait, it's a large black hat that's obvious, but in The Jewish Bride, it's almost hidden, but still visible. A similar shaped triangle of cloth is painted by Rembrandt on the bride's upper left arm, and Van Eyck painted this shape in the bag behind the woman hanging on the bedpost. These next two paintings are Adam and Eve, details, part of the whole picture, from the Ghent altarpiece. People may know the Ghent altarpiece from the movie The Monuments Men. It was painted by Jan van Eyck around 1426 to 1432, possibly also by Hubert van Eyck, his brother if he exists, and it's at St. Bavo's Cathedral in Ghent, Belgium. The likenesses of the faces here are incredible. They look like the same person. Like Adam and Eve are dressed in what at the time was modern dress. And again we see the small orange fruit held by Eve in both paintings. The next painting is Portrait of Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, the same person as the man in the Arnolfini portrait, painted by Jan van Eyck around 1436. It's at the Gemäldegalerie Gallery in Berlin. Giovanni's head is placed in the same position as Rembrandt placed the bride's head, and there's a strong facial resemblance of both men in each painting. Giovanni is holding an object which is just visible as a diamond-shaped piece of paper in his right hand, and Rembrandt also painted a diamond shape in the lit part of the man's lower coat in The Jewish Bride. Giovanni's red turban has an obtuse angle on the viewer's right side where it drops down, and the bride's red dress in The Jewish Bride has a similar angle and color in a sort of similar location along the viewer's right side of her dress. Next we look at Madonna at the Fountain, painted in around 1439 by Jan van Eyck. It's at the Royal Museum of Fine Arts in Antwerp, Belgium. The Madonna and the bride have their heads at a similar angle of view and also a similar facial likeness. Both of their left hands are also in the same position. The red dress of the flying angel in the top left corner of Madonna at the Fountain is repeated by Rembrandt with a similar angle and color of red dress on the viewer's left side of the bride's dress next to the groom. The dark vertical line of the water fountain is repeated by Rembrandt with the dark line between the bride's red dress fabric in the Jewish Bride. The bottom of the fountain part that catches the water is a similar shape and color as the man's right elbow in the Jewish Bride. Next, we look at Portrait of a Man with Carnation, painted by Jan van Eyck around 1435. It's also at the Gemäldegalerie Gallery in Berlin. Van Eyck's man looks like Rembrandt's man, but his head is positioned as Rembrandt positioned the woman in the Jewish Bride. Such a strong likeness that I felt I needed to include this painting in the video. The men in each painting are also wearing hats. Next, we look at Madonna and Child, painted around 1430 by Jan van Eyck. It's at the Stadel Museum in Frankfurt. There are similar compositions in both paintings, with again a very strong resemblance of faces of the Madonna and the woman in the Jewish Bride, and the same angle of view of their faces as well. Both ladies have their left hands in similar positions, and Madonna's right hand is positioned like the man's right hand in the Jewish Bride. On the windowsill of the left edge of both paintings is again the small orange fruit. Next, we look at the Annunciation diptych, painted around 1433 to 1435 by Jan van Eyck. It's at the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museo Nacional in Madrid. Van Eyck's angel on the left, the man, has the same face in the same position as Rembrandt painted the man's face in the Jewish Bride over 200 years later. Notice that the angel wing is a similar shape and angle of the man's cape in the Jewish Bride. Van Eyck's woman on the right has the same face as the woman's face painted by Rembrandt. Looks like the same person, but a rotated angle of view. Jan van Eyck's woman has her left hand over her belly and positioned palm in, and Rembrandt painted the woman's left hand in the same position. And the last painting by Jan van Eyck that I think Rembrandt referenced that I want to show you is Portrait of Margaretha van Eyck, painted in 1439. It's at the Grenning Museum in Bruges, Belgium. And again, such a strong resemblance in the face as the woman in the Jewish Bride, and their faces are also positioned at the same angle of view. And in fact, Van Eyck painted most of his portraits at this angle of view. So if you see a portrait by someone painted after the 1430s, look to see if they're multi-referencing Jan van Eyck. I'm quite sure that Rembrandt multi-referenced more than one artist in the Jewish wedding portrait. So if you find other artists that are multi-referenced by Rembrandt here, please let me know. Also, knowing that Rembrandt knows about the multi-reference technique, you can look for the multi-references in other artworks by Rembrandt. I also have a newsletter where I talk about tools for creating and understanding masterworks of art. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.